y'all. Let me tint these blinds. We're playing with our lighting a little bit. There we go. That's nice. We're playing with our lighting a little. Ooh, I'm so white. I'm so white. We'll just do that. And the dog has heard that we are streaming. Hey, baby, go lay down. It's not going to be that kind of a stream tonight. Hey, y'all. It is now 7 p.m. Central. And no matter where you are in a video store. Very good prediction, Pathos. Your prediction came to pass. You're a psychic. We would love your help if you have telekinetic powers in fighting Jason. And just in general, would love a psychic on board for the show. So.
I would have to agree. To solve mysteries.
Solve history's mysteries.
Etc.
It's good to have you here, Pathos and Munson. Again,
Hello.
If you see me looking to the right, this is our chat and our monitor. So we're looking over there to produce. But you were in a video store. Hey, welcome. We do this every week on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. And this is a digital spot to hang out and talk about movies for people who miss hanging out IRL and talking about movies with their friends. We always break the show down into 3 sections. First of all, what did you watch? That's how we'll start. We want to hear from you, what you watched this week. Sometimes we play little fun games with that. Then we'll move on to new arrivals. I will say there was an Arrow Easter sale recently. Some things came from that. Very exciting. And then finally, we will discuss our movie club pick, which is Pulse this week. And we will pick a new one. I want to let you know at the top of the show here that we are going to go a little shorter tonight. This has been a particularly busy, kind of stressful week off stream. And so we are going to just go for a couple hours tonight instead of our usual 3. And then next week, I will be traveling to shoot something back in Austin. And Steph will be deep in the throes of post-production here on a different project. So we're going to take next week off potentially to focus on making movies instead of talking about them. That said, maybe we'll figure out something to do next week, but just be prepared that we might take a week off. So,
yeah, and we'll let you know if you want to follow us at You Are In A Video Store on Instagram. We will let you know.
Oh my goodness, that was a good segue, Stephanie.
Thank you so much.
You can also follow, our little sign is missing a few. You see on that rotation?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's not happy.
Pathos, Pathos says their psychic abilities are limited to knowing when you're about to be in a video store. That is specific.
And always being correct with sports betting. Okay,
now, that's
so
helpful.
It sounds like that's actually pretty good psychic powers, yeah.
Yeah.
If you hear rambunction, I think that our animals, rambunction is a word, I just coined it, it's new, Get with it. We do have animals. You know, if this were a physical video store...
Oh, having animals would be great.
It'd be awesome to have a video store cat.
Yeah.
Video store hound dog sleeping behind the counter.
Yeah.
That's the vibe. But it seems like every time we start talking to y'all, they're like, who's here?
Let's play.
Can I get some camera time?
Hey.
By the way, I'm one of your 2 hosts, Adam Protextor.
And I am your other host, Stephanie Thoreson, a.k.a. DJ Stephanie Michelle on Twitch, a.k.a. Flock of Schmeagles on Instagram.
Yes. And I'm at Protextor on Instagram, which again brings me back to this sign. I need to figure out which slides are missing. But you know what? We'll just let it pass tonight and figure it out. Recently,
Sorry, that's a really cute name for a
rambunction. That's so good. We recently had to do this thing with our, just to peek behind the curtain here on production. We use OBS for this show. OBS does not love the newest form of Catalina for the Mac, and so we have to do a thing where we open this OBS through terminal. Some file paths got cut off. Long story short, there's a few housekeeping things. So if you ever notice anything on the stream that's like, hey, I tune in and this graphic is normally there, and we're not catching it, always feel free to be like, hey, there's a screw loose right here, because we're trying to figure out what we've missed. But let's go ahead and start the show.
Yeah, and if you are new to the video store, welcome. Hello to our regulars. As always, this show is interactive, so especially as we jump into what did you watch, please feel free to drop in the chat what you watched this week, what your thoughts were on what everyone else watched and what we watched. It's an open forum discussion. Just a few rules: no judgment, be kind, don't have strong opinions about something you've never seen.
Be cool, be kind, and put put things in context. Mm-hmm. That's all. Don't come, and try not to say chick flick. The animals are absolutely biting each other hard
rambunctioning
in a playful manner. It's actually pretty adorable off screen here. If you want to check archival episodes out, that's youtube.com/babylion. We have all the episodes there. If you just want to listen to people talk in the background, think of it like long form visual podcasts. You can also follow us, as Stephanie mentioned, on the gram, and I'll go ahead and drop that right now. It's the name of our show with an @ tag in front of it. There it is. Cool. Well, what did y'all watch this week? We've been celebrating Japanese cinema, so our movie club pick this week is Pulse, Cairo from 2001, directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, and truly fantastic. But we'll get to that soon. So if you watched we watched, I think, only one other Japanese movie this week, and then kind of a slew of random stuff. It was very like throw darts at the wall and see what sticks kind of week.
Yeah, it was. But fun.
It was but fun.
It was but fun.
It was but fun. Yeah, so if you watched anything, like Steph said, it's interactive. Like if you're new to the stream, feel comfortable to just type out 10 movies and be like, I love this one, I hated this one. We want to know your opinions. And we try to be good little video store clerks, and if you really love or really dislike something and you want the opposite or more, we'll try and recommend you something.
I think last week we had an open discussion about movies you hated, or
movies.
Like, what's a movie you absolutely hate? Did we
we talked about like what movie would you call? Because we started talking about like worst movies ever. Because Wedge was saying Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
Well, I also am going to keep up my trend of trying to figure out a movie for a double feature for everything we talk about.
Oh, I love that.
Because it's fun. Okay.
I really hope that y'all can hear this rambunction. The cat is literally climbing on the dog's back. I'm tempted to turn the camera around for a moment.
I don't want to because it'll be annoying to set it back up.
Yeah.
But, this is full on, they say show don't tell, so maybe we can just concentrate on our show. Hey, what's up, Chronicide? Okay.
Rambunction continues.
Do you want me to go?
Rambunction 2, the sequel.
Take the toy. They're fighting over a toy. Okay, catching up on the chat here real quick. Pathos. In the last week, Tubi got itself a massive haul of award-winning movies, so I've been watching great stuff. Awesome. Great stuff like what? Watched Ghostbusters 2016, the theatrical cut, and Nobody, the new movie with Bob Odenkirk. I love Bob Odenkirk. Really enjoyed them both. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the new Ghostbusters. I didn't really understand. I didn't really understand the hate there. Chronicide watched Armageddon, which is awesome. I really love Armageddon. I really want to rewatch it at some point as well. And let's see, Munson about Nobody says Nobody doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it's a blast. And the cast I didn't know Michael Ironside was in it, nor did I know the RZA and Connie Nielsen was in it. That's very fun. Oh, we need to watch that. That's the Bob Odenkirk, like John Wick movie.
Nobody.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of billboards.
A lot of billboards and posters
in our neighborhood for Nobody.
Yeah.
Cool. So I kind of was, I was handling the rambunction.
Yeah.
So let's see. Ghostbusters 2016. Okay, Nobody. That's what we were just talking about. Armageddon, all caps, as it should be.
Yeah, right? I feel like that's how you go. And what you know about the, I think it's right here. It is. Right here in my drawer. I got my two prized possessions, my Criterion Rock and my Criterion Armageddon. I think this is the cut of Armageddon that's technically unrated because there's an F-bomb in it just for the Criterion release.
Some strong words about Tenet, and look at Pathos. Air Force One, Under Siege, Heartbreak Ridge, Maverick, and A Time to Kill.
That sounds like a very fun 90s ride.
Yeah, what a lineup.
We watched Air Force One not too long ago. I really want to quickly, Tenet, I haven't seen Under Siege, actually, so maybe I need to, getting some upvote here for being dope. We started Tenet, and we actually had a stupid joke. When we were trying to move, and we were looking for a spot, we rented Tenet on Prime, started it, got about 5 minutes in, and then got a text from the person who is now our landlord, that we had been approved. And basically then instead of watching the movie, we spent the next like 2 hours doing paperwork and then toasting champagne because we were like, we found a spot. And we never went back to watching Tenet.
We never did.
I am not... I will say this. I'll choose my words carefully here because I know there's a lot of strong opinions about the guy. I grew up loving Christopher Nolan. I think that love affair for me kind of ended with Inception. And I do feel like I don't anticipate that I'm going to love Tenet. But again, we don't judge before we watch. So I still really want to watch it. But I have heard very like... The Prestige is his best movie, I think. Prestige is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that.
Super slept on.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, in the oeuvre.
In the oeuvre, compared to like the Batman movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I love those Batman movies too. I rewatched. We had a whole combo about that a few weeks ago. In DC. Watched Tenet. Fun story about watching things backwards, like Nolan movies backwards. I had a film professor. Actually, was this mine? No, this is a weird man. I'm getting old. This is a story from a friend who had the same professor. So I had him, but he didn't say this to our class. Anyway, great dude. But they did a unconventional storytelling week in class. And the film professor, who is this wonderful Icelandic guy named Bjorn Nordfjord, who is now a tenured professor in Iceland. Anyway, he's a really cool guy. He apparently was like, hey, everyone come to class with an example of something that is told non-sequentially, and don't you dare come with Memento. That movie is just a movie told backwards. It is not interesting. It always kind of stuck with me.
It's funny.
Oh, nice. I love that you're a Nolan. Yeah. You know, I will say the brother Nolan, I forget, Chris, and then who's his brother? The ones his brother helps him, Jonathan. The ones that Jonathan helps him write are the better ones. If you look up Jonathan's credits, and to me, I think that's because Nolan is such a clockwork controlling kind of machine of a director, and I think that Jonathan puts the humanity in it. Jonathan's the one behind things like Following and Prestige. Anyway, script-wise. Okay, cool. So let's rewind here. Armageddon always gets a plus for me. What a fun movie. Now, Ghostbusters 2016, that meant that you saw that in theater with your improv troupe, right? Can I put you on the spot?
Sure, yeah. I saw that in theaters. I, back in Austin, was in for 5 years an all-woman comedy troupe called Loverboy, and we went to see Ghostbusters together. I know that there's a lot of mixed emotions, a lot of, like, love-hate about the remake of Ghostbusters. I enjoyed it.
I mean, I think it's just a really fun ride. And to the people who say that it did anything bad to the Ghostbusters name, I'm like, you might want to go revisit the like serial and sequel and cartoon because this was already merchandised to shit. Like, this didn't change anything.
Yeah.
I also am just in general like not a huge fan of the like a new version of something I like exists. Therefore, my enjoyment of the original is compromised.
Yeah.
But I've said that before with the Star Wars movies last week. I was like, sometimes I just pretend there's only the original trilogy, and that's fine.
Yeah, and that's how I pretend.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, it was really fun. Again, like you were saying, didn't really take anything away from the franchise or the original. For me personally, I understand for some people that they hold that incredibly dear to their hearts. For me, it was really exciting to see Kate McKinnon like whooping ass at the end of that movie.
That gun lick is so cool.
The gun lick was great for me, like seeing like a badass queer female comedian, you know, in that moment was awesome for me. But, you know
what? It's funny. First of all, everyone deserves to have movies mean something to them. Second of all, with what you just said, like people holding Ghostbusters so tightly, what you made me think of is like I have a few friends who would call Ghostbusters 1 their favorite movie.
Really?
Who adore it, and those are not the people who were upset about the remake. It's the like, I think that's sometimes the way.
I think, and maybe I'm generalizing, but I think for some people, they understand like compartmentalizing. When they adore something, they know that it's like over here and it will always be over here.
Right. I get that.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, any hoozles. And pathos, I mean, like...
pathos, I have to kind of agree with that. Well, let's see what's going on.
Okay. It's called Loverboy. They're actually, y'all were the first all-female improv troupe to have a Friday night headlining slot at any improv theater in the country.
We were, and
they're like the funniest shit I've ever seen on stage, TBH.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a sold-out headlining show for 5 years, and the reason that Loverboy is in the name, it's actually a little wink. We used to only have male monologists when we first started to come tell stories about their love and dating life, and then we would make up comedy based on those stories. So Loverboy.
Because it was an Armando, which is a format of improv where someone tells a story from their life, and then the improvisers pick details and play with it.
Yeah.
But this is not you are in an improv theater.
No, it's not.
But anyway, huge shout out to Loverboy. I guess my point is like the representation that Ghostbusters remake provided.
Yeah.
And I get what Pathos is saying too. Like, I mean, I felt there were moments of it that are silly, but those are Paul Feig moments.
Yeah.
That's Paul Feig putting 3 dance sequences in his movie. Those aren't the cast. And so it's interesting to see the cast held responsible for a male director not nailing it. I think the movie's really fun, though. That's the word I have for it.
I would agree. And Pathos, I think that, it was a little like, because the cast was and is so incredible. I think that it didn't hit on all cylinders, absolutely, but it was fun.
Yeah. And also, just really quickly, just want to say, Carlos Mencia does suck. Okay, scrolling back up. All right, so for the movies you watched, Ghostbusters 2016 and Nobody, really enjoyed them both. I honestly can't wait to watch Nobody because I've been rewatching Mr. Show. I tweeted this the other day, and not that there's any crossover, but I was thinking about this, how I grew up loving Bob Odenkirk on Mr. Show, and then when I worked at a real video store in like the early aughts, Bob Odenkirk was directing a bunch of like indie comedies that weren't that popular among our clientele, and David Cross was in Arrested Development, which was like never in stock because it was so popular. And I remember thinking like, oh man, I wish Bob Odenkirk was getting some better opportunities. I think I liked him more than David Cross. It just goes to show you how much of a long game it is. That now he's like bona fide movie star.
Yeah.
I love that dude. I can't wait to watch that movie.
Yeah. Sounds fun.
Let's see here. Air Force One, Under Siege, Heartbreak Ridge, Maverick, and A Time to Kill. Okay. Man, this is like... I feel like Pathos always knows like the 90s movies that I didn't watch as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, dang, there's a lot I need to see. Of those, Pathos, which was your favorite? And which would you like heartily recommend, I suppose? Air Force One, Die Hard on a Plane, really never gets old.
Yeah.
Was the last time we watched Air Force One, we were like, this movie ends and then is like, and why not have 40 more minutes of another sequence we don't need?
Yeah.
It's so long.
It is.
Pathos says Under Siege is the only Steven Seagal movie that they have enjoyed. I have never been a huge Steven Seagal fan myself. Now, you grew up like renting, like that's what you did with your family, was 90s action movies. So Jean-Claude Van Damme was big in your household.
Yeah.
What was the Seagal factor like?
Not. We were very much like a JCVD and Sylvester Stallone kind of Bruce Willis sort of house.
I like that.
My mom was really into Bruce Lee, but we like never watched Bruce Lee movies.
Do you think that's because your mom like saw them in her youth when Bruce Lee was like truly a Hollywood star, like when she was younger?
I mean, maybe saying she was really into Bruce Lee is not like accurate.
She liked Enter the Dragon.
I feel like she would just like randomly bring up Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee was a cross-cultural icon, you know? The first Chinese actor to break through as a Hollywood star, like, and just represented control over yourself and badassness. I mean, I think Bruce Lee meant a lot to a lot of people. I never knew that your mom liked him so much. That's kind of wonderful.
I think maybe it was because I randomly had a Bruce Lee shirt, and every time I wore it, she would be like, I just love Bruce Lee.
He's a master. Have Under Siege on VHS still. Nice. Nice. We have plenty VHS here. Okay, scrolling down. Pathos didn't like The Prestige, preferred The Illusionist. Now, Pathos, I have not seen The Illusionist, but I feel like there is oftentimes a... Oh, and Munson missed you saying like Dunkirk. That actually needs to be on my list, because that is a big... That's one I have not seen.
I have not seen Dunkirk either.
Missed it. We should watch it.
Yeah.
It's also like his shortest movie outside of Following, I think.
It is?
It's like 95 minutes long. When I see Nolan, I assume it's going to be a 3-hour thing.
Me too.
But yeah, we should watch that. But you know, there's always that mind meld thing that happens, like with Ants and A Bug's Life, or Armageddon and Deep Impact, Dante's Peak and Volcano. But you don't have to compare them. It just means, you know, like, the temptation is there, because it's right in front of you to compare them. But I feel like The Prestige and The Illusionist, from my understanding, are very different stories.
Yeah.
The Prestige is kind of like an allegory for movie making, really. And The Illusionist, I don't know, because I haven't seen it. Alright, let's scroll down here. Run, Ronnie, run! I love Mr. Show. Never saw Run, Ronnie, Run. This is a theme on the show of people shouting out things that I had friends tell me not to watch, and I stupidly listened to because I was like, I only want to watch the hits.
Oh.
I was a huge Mr. Show fan. I wanted to see Run, Ronnie, Run, and I remember a friend who was also a Mr. Show fan being like, it's not the same as the show. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it later then, and never got to it.
I haven't seen Run, Ronnie, Run either.
Well, Ronnie Dobbs is David Cross's character on Mr. Show, for those who don't know, who's like the most arrested man in American history. But he's actually in the first episode of Mr. Show. That's like their tentpole character in their pilot. Maynard hanging out with Odenkirk. I did not know that those two people were friends. That blows my mind, and I like it. Best movie of the bunch is A Time to Kill, but if you're looking for military action, Under Siege and Heartbreak Ridge are real fun. Under Siege is more non-stop. Heartbreak has more emotion, but it's very actiony. Under Siege has Busey. I love Busey. I feel sad about Busey because he's such a talented actor and was reduced to a joke for many people.
Yeah.
Truly a great character actor in his heyday, though.
What was that movie that we watched pretty recently with Gary Busey? Like young Gary Busey, as like a brother figure or an uncle.
Oh my god, I don't know. Let me scroll through the.
Oh.
Let's see here. Oh boy, did we watch it back in Austin?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
I
boy.
doubt you're going to be able to
what
figure it out.
a long list. Yeah, I know.
It's probably back in 2020 when we watched it. You know, I'm at that point with like stress and quarantine where I'm like, that was like a week ago, right? And then it's like 6 months. I'm like,
I'm gonna jump into that metal plate. It's his accident and the metal plate, and it like changed him, which is really unfortunate because of some of that muscle paralysis in his face, and became known for this one thing. But yeah, he's
just
an incredible
fantastic
actor.
character actor.
His son's not bad either. His son's not as good as him. But Starship Troopers, Frighteners. As fun as the bad guy in Frighteners.
Yeah.
Well, what did we watch, Stephanie?
Okay, we watched. I feel like we've been a little slow the last few weeks. I think this week was a pretty good movie watching week. You watched a couple things without me, but together we watched TLDK.
We watched this movie. Let's start with this one. If no one has seen this, I'm going to go ahead and say big recommendation on it.
Did I say TLDK?
You said.
Oh, okay, but here's why. Because I kept forgetting what this movie was called, and I kept saying TLDR. And, yeah.
So, do you know what this means?
Two
bedroom, living room, dining room, kitchen.
Oh.
It's a description of the apartment that the movie takes place in. So this is a chamber piece. It all takes place in an apartment over the course of one evening. It's 70 minutes. It was produced as part of the Duel project, which the more famous movie out of this project was Versus, which was much more successful. I have not seen Versus. My friends used to make fun of me. They'd be like, of course the fucking Third Eye Blind album you remember from junior high is Blue and not the other one. Like, I always have the B-side. Anyway, this is the B-side to that project. It's two actresses who are both out for the same role and basically begin by being passive-aggressive and end by fighting with katanas and chainsaws.
Yeah, I made the joke with Adam that this felt like being dropped into the third act of a much longer movie.
Yeah.
Where you're just seeing, like, an extended fight scene, I would say, for, like, 80% of the movie.
I think about half of it is violence.
It felt more than half to me.
Really?
It felt like a majority of the film was them fighting.
Yeah, I mean, they really milk the, like, amount of fun ideas of what two people can do to each other in an apartment, like, from bathtub electrocution to cleaning sprays to a very convenient chainsaw that exists only because they're in a boutique apartment that has a little garden. What did you think of this? This was always a favorite back in the video store days because, to be frank, I love how fun and minimalistic it is on its budget, and how it just kind of is like, hey, let's have fun for an hour. So I've always liked it, but you didn't know what to expect. What did you think going in?
I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was really fun. I mean, you know, I think it's pretty obvious that there's something to be said for the, like, literal cutthroat nature of pitting women against each other in an industry like the entertainment industry. So I think that there is, like, a cheeky sort of wink at the camera sense of humor about it, even though it is incredibly violent and, like, you know, really over the top. I think it's, violent but funny. Like, it has a weird sense of humor to it.
I think it's a black comedy, for sure.
Yeah.
Look, as I said that, it's the first thing it says on the back.
There you go.
A twisted, skillfully paced black comedy.
I thought that they did a really good job of sort of, like, baiting and switching, like, you thinking, oh, well, this one girl is the unstable one, and then it's like, no, it's the other girl, and then you're like, oh, they're both just...
Yeah, being driven mad by the same external forces.
Exactly.
Okay, quick play on the whole double feature thing. I would say, for this one, if you do 2LDK, which honestly, I really do recommend this. I just think it's so fun. Violent, fun, short. It's just like a great piece of cinematic candy.
And to your point, like, it's really cool to see what you can do in one setting.
Yeah, one room with some fun camera work.
Yeah.
And some very committed actors.
Yeah.
A lot of physicality to these roles. I will say that if put this up for a double feature, I would recommend double featuring it with Swimming with Sharks, which I just remember as I'm saying it stars Kevin Spacey, so if you don't feel comfortable watching him, don't, but 2LDK and Swimming with Sharks. Swimming with Sharks is Guy Smiley, who plays a production assistant for, not Guy Smiley, what's that guy's name for real? Guy Smiley is a Muppet. Anyway, I forget his name. Frank Smiley. Right? Frank Whaley.
I'm like, I had no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know why I called him Guy Smiley. Frank Whaley plays a office assistant to a horrible movie producer who's abusive, and he ultimately kidnaps that producer and tortures him at his house, but it's also played for laughs in a dark way. So if you want two movie industry satires that take place in between two people in one location, watch 2LDK and Swimming with Sharks.
Okay, all right. We also watched...
Avalon. Pathos, you recommended us... I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay.
We pitched this last week. We wanted to have you here to pitch it again. So we'll talk about that.
Mists of?
No. There's actually two Avalons. When I was Googling it, I found one one directed by Barry Sonnenfeld as well. But I know that you're talking about a Japanese... was it Japanese... Polish co-production, and then he ruined House of Cards, especially when he did his creepy like asking for support thing in character.
That was too weird.
That was like in 50 years you could frame that and put it in a museum. Like that's such a uniquely weird window into a twisted brain.
Sticky, icky, gross.
Sticky, icky, gross. Cool. Well, you want to keep going down our list?
Yeah, in order, I guess.
Sure.
Okay, so another quick one. I think we did these kind of, not back to back, but on the same day. We decided to watch just a couple of short things. So we did finally get around to watching the Britney doc.
Finally.
Which we had been talking about for a while. Framing Britney, available on Hulu.
Yes, and it's an episode of, you can look up Britney Spears, you'll find it, but it's an episode of a New York Times series. They vary in length, but this one's a feature length. It felt like a documentary.
Yeah.
I loved this, but obviously it felt like because it's a documentary about an ongoing thing, I did feel that it made a lot of sense to me that it was produced by the Times as a piece of journalism, because it did not feel as a lot of documentaries feel. They want to, they tie a bow.
Yeah.
This felt more like a snapshot and a catching up on what's been happening and a snapshot of where we're at, but it did suffer from, maybe not suffer, it was unique to the experience of most documentaries in the sense that it didn't really provide any resolution. It was just kind of a journalistic piece of like, here we are now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which New York Times Presents is great if you haven't checked out their series. But the Framing Britney doc was, really speaking of women being impacted by being in the industry.
Yeah, right? Maybe it was a good double feature for us. That's what we did. Kind
of what I was thinking. Definitely, like, if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's just over an hour. I think that there's a lot to be said for that sort of era of paparazzi and young women in the music industry in particular.
We're old enough to remember, like, growing up in the heyday of expecting that. Like, the Us Weekly, the basically, like, it's interesting how much paparazzi has lost their tooth because of smartphones and because of Twitter. And it's like we now have access to celebrities in an unprecedented way, which means that photographs of people are, I mean, I know that there's still an industry there.
Yeah.
But it feels like we kind of saw the heyday of that. And it was interesting looking back at events that I took for granted as I experienced them and saying like, oh yeah, I guess I was a teenager then. This is, or like a 20, or early 20-something, or mostly a teenager. Yeah. It's interesting to see with a measured gaze. I did feel a little bit of like some of the people in there who were like, yeah, we're stalking her constantly, and she told us to leave her alone, but like we cared about her, man. I was like, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Munson. Yeah, I wonder what that relationship's with. Like, I
feel like now it's always like paparazzi or, these tabloid magazines. It's always like, can we catch them in their swimsuit? Can we catch them without their makeup? Like,
I'm just like thinking of that Ben Affleck. Like, I think Munson, I follow you on Twitter, and I've seen you and I think I posted it somewhere else, but you and I have both posted that Ben Affleck holding a bunch of packages while sipping a big gulp as a joke about buying movies in quarantine. But I like, for instance, like that photo, you know? Like, I wonder how much that sold for and what that would compare to, like, what a candid Affleck J-Lo photo would have gone for in 2005.
Yeah, I mean, that was such an industry, and I think there's a lot to be said for, especially with Britney, like, her meltdown, and that she was insane and all of these things. Like, what happened to her was completely unprecedented. Like, it was not a normal thing for a human brain to go through. And, even now, there are things like just Justin Bieber. I don't know. I really don't know anything about Justin Bieber.
Me neither.
Quite literally, the only thing I know about Justin Bieber is that he took that big break from music because his brain had developed in such extreme circumstances that he was getting like deep depression and brain zaps and all these weird side effects when he wasn't around flashing lights and crowds of people.
Like his baseline of serotonin was just wildly thrown off.
So thrown off.
Like needs to be worshipped to feel normal.
Yeah, and also like stimulation. Like when he wasn't being stimulated like with visual,
wow,
lights or noises, like it was deafening. Like
because
the
his
silence.
frontal lobe
It developed
developed wrong. Because our frontal lobes aren't fully formed until I learned this recently. Well, I learned long ago that they say your frontal lobe doesn't fully develop till you're 25, but I heard a really interesting podcast recently, or NPR story that explained what that means, and it means that you have difficulty imagining potential futures different from the one you're in, which is why people earlier than that age tend to engage in riskier behavior. Yeah. Because you get the ability to see alternate realities forming after that. It's a really interesting. I thought that was an interesting way to look at it. But yeah, Justin Bieber, I had no idea it was that severe. With Britney, also, I will say, I do take I saw there was so much negativity around that time, and I just want to say shout out to my friends in college, because all I remember from that time, from my SO and my friends at that time, were she's not crazy. Yeah, she shaved her head. That's fucked up. But seems like a mental breakdown based on being stalked all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember that being the vibe in my friend group, and I just want to thank those people for putting that energy in my young brain, because it was healthy at an impressionable time in my life.
Yeah.
Anyway, Brittany, you'll never see this, but we love you. And I almost wore one of my 2 Britney shirts tonight. I realized a few days ago that the musical artist I have the most t-shirts of is Britney. At a record number of 2 shirts.
I guess if you want to do a double feature with this movie, kind of the flip side of this coin, I would recommend watching 5'2". It's the Lady Gaga documentary. It's also fairly short. It's really about her taking back her power as an artist after sort of having a heavy hand under her manager, and it's all leading up to her Super Bowl performance, which, as we all probably know, was one of the most incredible Super Bowl performances of all time. I find it to be really interesting, and inspirational.
We gotta watch that. Maybe this week.
It's a fun one.
Maybe after I get back from Austin.
Yeah.
That's a great double feature. Really quickly, Munson. Yeah, you totally should. That's the other thing we're supposed to be doing is who would we recommend this to? So rewind. 2LDK recommended to fans of. If you're one of those people who's I want a fun, weird Japanese action movie, watch 2LDK. Framing Britney. I mean, if you are of a certain generation and interested in pop culture, I feel like it's relevant for everybody. And by the way, Munson, I do not need to have that many Prince shirts because I have the man's name on my body until I die, and I'm proud to. So I only have 1 shirt, Prince shirt. No, I have 2. I do have 2 Prince shirts. The reason I didn't count one is because it shrunk in the wash. So never mind. Prince and Britney are holding it down in the closet. Cool. Let's do these 2 back to back and jump into this one.
Yeah. I'll let you. I thought you were wanting to do these 2 back to back and then jump into this one. Let's jump into this one and then do the other one.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is a movie called Il Posto, Hermano Olmi. This is the first movie I've seen by this director. I sought this out because I'm personally a really big fan of Italian neorealism as a film movement. I think it might be my favorite. I have a weird. This is gonna sound pretentious, maybe. I don't mean it to. I have a weird feeling that this is the closest era of film that has come to creating something sacred and humanistic as Italian neorealism. For those who aren't familiar with this, it's post-war Italy when people were trying to recover from the war. It's mostly shot with non-professional actors. They're mostly the stories of everyday lives. It's mostly handheld, not a lot of attention to making things look gorgeous, and mostly filmed in real life on location, often in buildings that were destroyed by bombings in Italy. And it really is just an exploration of people who people recovering from World War II and adjusting to a modern world that often was very hateful of them for having a fascist leader. So, after the fall of Mussolini and after the fall of fascist Italy, there's this film movement that is trying to shed a human light on the everyday people of Italy. Anyway, some notable examples of that are Bicycle Thieves, Umberto D. I'd say those are the 2 big ones. Also Germany Year Zero. But this one is not really war related. This one is about the grinding gears of capitalism and about trying to work a job. This one is about how 9-to-5s can suck your soul. And I loved it. Never seen it before.
I loved it too. I thought it was great. It was so melancholy. I think we both had that takeaway. Melancholy. It had like a sweetness to it.
As a lot of these movies do, because they're unprofessional actors playing everyday struggles.
Yeah.
And so there's an earnestness.
It was incredibly earnest. And yeah, melancholy, and just felt like very slice of life. There was sadness. I don't know. It just felt very relevant to, unfortunately, to like the grind of that struggle of sort of getting thrown into working a day job, and then that just becoming your reality for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I think that especially in a pandemic, when a lot of us have had to be working remotely and we feel a little bit more maybe crushed by the grind, because without the variables of a commute or office snacks or random gossip or music, like there's so many variables that have been removed and have truly like made life feel like a slog. Mm-hmm. This really did feel relevant. The story is very simple. It's a young kid, can't be 16 or 17, who goes to work at an office to support his family. And there's a lot of very like humanistic interludes here where it'll follow other people from the office into their lives. And the whole thing just has this great juxtaposition between the music, the loudness, the living of people's personal lives, and the quietude and control and suffocation of their office environment, and the little petty squabbles about what desk is where and the things that matter that don't matter.
It definitely felt like a continuation of like a schooling mentality. Mm-hmm. It was like, are you thinking about going back to school? It was a lot of school work talk, and it was, even down to like having split lunch. Mm-hmm. Where you're like, I'm in B lunch.
It was, yeah. But that is how a lot of Italian society was functioning at the time.
Yeah.
And there's a little essay I skimmed in this, and I don't really know much about what the day-to-day lives looked like outside of the realm of these movies. But there is a little essay in there that I read part of where they were talking about like his ill-fitting suit being kind of this message on how so many Italians at the time were forced into pretending they were like office people. Definitely. When they weren't at all.
Yeah, and he's so young. And there's this whole sequence that takes place on New Year's that is just really sweet, and I think speaks to those really human moments that you are unexpected. Those little pockets of joy that you're just sort of like, it's sweet. Again, melancholy. It has like this sort of, I don't know, like this tenderness to it.
Tenderness is the perfect word. There's a director's statement on the disc, and he said something that I think really sums it up. My purpose was to portray the courage it takes to live through the colorless gray days, which are, in anyone's life, the majority. The rare opportunities, too precious to be lost, for finding love, the subtle distinction between acceptance and resignation. I mean, I'm not always a fan of directors saying, here's what my movie's about, but this is so on the nose already. It's such slice of life, as you put it.
Yeah.
Howdy, great job, nerds.
Hi, great job, nerds.
Well, okay, so I'd recommend this to anyone with a heart, honestly, but I'm going to push Italian neorealism on everybody. I truly believe it's like, if we want to get real film school with it for a second, look, there's a writer, Andre Bazin, who put forth this theory that film was the closest art form to a holy art form, because rather than something being created by us, like a drawing or the written word, we were simply using a camera to frame the natural world and to ask people to see beauty in that. So I think, and he loved neorealism movies, and I'm just on that tip, baby. That's just where my head's at. Movie's not for me. Well, I'm sorry, Pathos. If you want to double feature this, I'd say double feature it with I Fidanzati, which is the director's follow-up, which is the next one we're going to watch. We haven't seen it, but it's his follow-up, and it's supposed to be kind of the flip side of the coin with a little more hope in it. So I'd say that. Or watch it along with Brazil. That might be a really good double feature. That's another movie about the corporate slog driving you insane. And however, whereas this one is the quiet, undressed, dressed down minimalist. Brazil is Terry Gilliam with a giant budget before studios stopped trusting him. So might be a fun yin yang. Well, okay. Howdy, and great job, nerds. We're just going through what we've watched. If you're just joining us, you are in a video store. Thank you for being here. Feel free to drop in the chat if you have opinions on movies or want a recommendation or just want to say, hey, we're trying to go a little shorter than normal tonight because, frankly, we've had a pretty stressful week and have some travel to prepare for coming up next week. So it's probably going to be about a 2-hour stream, so we're just going through the things we watched, and then we'll move to new arrivals here in a moment.
Yeah, and feel free to drop in the chat what you watched or any thoughts or questions about what we watched as we continue to move through this last little bit of this section. And just quick note, speaking of next week, we are potentially taking a week off to do some production and post-production on our own projects. So we will keep you posted. We'll keep you posted like a note. That's not a bar. Sometimes you just know it's not a bar. Not a bar.
Hashtag not a bar. Okay, ready for these?
Yeah, so as you may or may not know, our regulars probably know, we have been working our way through the Jason franchise for a hot minute.
I say since last August.
Yeah, and also if you go to our Instagram at You Are in a Video Store, you can see the first installment of You Are in a Clothing Store, where I break down the wardrobe of Friday 8.
Yes.
So we went ahead and did 2 this week. We did Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X.
That's right. Okay. Now, I've seen these before. This was your first watch through the franchise. I gotta say, I really enjoyed both of these. But it was really, really interesting hearing what you had to say because I feel like myself and probably most of the people in the chat have experienced these movies as cultural osmosis. You take them for granted. You've seen them a few times. You grew up with them. You've seen Jason parodied and satired a million times. And you're like, whatever. But you have a really unique way of looking at it because this was you didn't really have that. And this was your first watch through. So I feel like getting to talk to you about these movies is like getting to talk to a Jason fan who saw it in theater in 1993. So let's start with Jason Goes to Heck, the final Friday.
Jason Goes to Heck. Okay, so I felt like Jason Goes to Hell, first of all, he does not. Can we start there?
It's implied that he does. Can I also just say, I'll save my thoughts. I gotta pee because we've been drinking mad water, so I'm gonna take a little bathroom break. Really quickly, yes, Pathos, you're making Pathos and Munson. We're gonna get into how fucking rad Jason X is.
Yeah.
But really quickly, someone who's watching any double features you would recommend for While You Were Sleeping and or The Princess Bride. Let me think on that. While You Were Sleeping, I bet you have a good idea for.
Yeah, While You Were Sleeping.
And I'm gonna sneak away, but we can return to that too.
Excuse me.
I'll put some thought into that too, because I think I could have some good double features there. But back to Jason Goes to Heck. Okay, he doesn't go to hell. Let's just start there. Second of all, there is absolutely, I have really nothing against this movie. But for me, as someone who's been watching these movies sequentially for the first time, this did not feel like a Friday movie. This felt like a really fun zombie movie with like a lot of Easter eggs or just like a different franchise altogether. It didn't really fit in with me. Again, I think it's the Evil Dead guys, right? That did the is that right? That do the practical effects, the visual effects, which were cool. Like a lot of really cool stuff going on there. It just really did not feel like a Friday movie to me. Whatever. I'm not mad about it. I'm I don't have strong feelings. It sounds like some people had some choice words and strong feelings about it not being a Friday movie. I guess that's what my thoughts are on Jason Goes to Hell, is that it was cool, but it didn't
feel like Jason.
It didn't feel like Jason.
Didn't feel like Friday.
Didn't feel like Friday.
It's not.
It's not.
It's the first in the franchise.
No one gets thrown through a window.
It's the first.
I was trying. Okay, so with the Friday movies, there is like a formula, especially with like how the deaths happen. And in this movie, it was like, what? Where is my window throw?
Well, let me tell you, Stephanie, I hear you on that, but it's the 90s now, so fuck the formula. We had 8 of these movies from 1980 to 1989, almost a clip of one produced a year. Get to 1993, can you blame them for wanting to say, like, this is the era of, we're looking forward, it's the 90s, we're postmodern, like, but I think that you share the perspective of what the fans were feeling was, where's my fan service, where's my Friday movie? Mm-hmm. It's not a Friday, now it's a Jason movie.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that late franchise lore dump is silly.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a Jason movie. It didn't feel like that. Oh, it's just a misnomer across the board, okay? It's not a Friday movie. It's not a Jason movie. And he does not go to hell.
Also, I gotta say, feels like a slap in the face after 9 Jason movies to have the Freddy glove. I know that that's a funny Easter egg, but to have Freddy laughing and pulling the mask down to hell at the end. He does go to hell. He gets pulled down by all those demons. And the sound effect is like, the sound effect on the soundtrack is like those tubes that you got for selling magazines. Like, but have that last shot be Freddy's laugh. Like, look, if Freddy vs. Jason had been made the next year, sure, go for it. Because then you're setting it up. I get that. And I know that was the plan. But since it took a decade for that to happen, literally 10 years between them, maybe let the Jason fans not see their final Friday end with a different franchise that they probably have talked shit on. It just... and pathos, I figured that out based on just some Latin root words there and laughed, but I wanted to draw your attention. This movie lacks defenestration. Editor's note. The technical term being thrown out the window.
That's great.
I mean, I gotta say, I was with you on this. I loved Jason Goes to Hell. I thought it was super fun.
It is super fun. That's the thing.
And the gore is amazing.
And the gore's great.
Which is another, 90s thing.
Yeah.
And budget.
Yeah.
And I like the shape-shifting thing, too. But I do agree with you. It does feel that someone had a good script and they changed a few details to make it a Jason script.
That's exactly. And then, I was mentioning while you were, over there, that there were all these random Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like...
The Necronomicon showing up.
Yeah, it was like,
It's postmodern and self-referential. This is a year before Clerks. This is the era of the, This is the beginning of the phase we still haven't left.
Yeah.
Of us navel-gazing about pop culture. Where, the 80s, we've talked about this before. We went in a whole thing about genres, how genres develop by eventually the studios recognize the genre, then the audience recognizes the genre, and then the genre recognizes the genre. And the 90s is super duper where that happened for horror. Mm-hmm. And this is actually, I'm glad we watched this because I feel like it fits that pattern.
It does. Again, definitely not saying that I disliked Jason Goes to Hell. I thought it was a really fun ride. Just not at all was what I was expecting, and quite honestly, needs a different title.
Yeah. It should have been called Jason Now is kind of thoughtful about what he's doing and is more of a Michael Myers vibe.
Well, that's the thing that
goes
really,
to hell.
I think that's the thing that really took me out of it is especially when he had the guy
tied up
and ready for kind of some torture. I was like, this is not his MO.
Yeah.
He is a child. He's a child trapped in a monster's body.
And Jason X returns to that.
Uh-huh.
Jason X lets us know, I love the moment that he wakes up is because he hears a girl having sex.
Yeah.
That's what it is. He is a force of evil motivated to punish traditional sin.
Yeah. And he's not doing that in this movie either.
No, because the reason is because in Jason Goes to Hell, they destroy him. First of all, that cold open is amazing. Mm-hmm. Or the fake out and then him getting blown up and dying.
Oh, yeah.
Is incredible.
Yeah.
But I think if I was a fan seeing this in theater, especially with this cover art, I would have thought, after that, oh shit, now it's going to be Jason hacking his way through demons. And then it's not.
Yeah.
Anyway, real quick. Okay, shapeshifting is a great word, I agree. Oh, congrats to your friend, the shapeshifting detective.
Oh.
Very fun. Real quick, Munson, if you're still with us, I'm going to tell you the double features I thought of while I took my bathroom break.
Oh.
And that is that While You Were Sleeping, I think would go really well with Sleepless in Seattle.
That was going to be my suggestion as well.
There you go. And The Princess Bride, I think because it's about escaping into the world of a book, would go really well.
Never-ending story.
The Never-ending Story.
We had the exact same.
There you go, mind meld.
Totally mind melded. Those were going to be my exact recommendations. Also, if you want to get real weird with a Princess Bride double feature, and you can find it, Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme is strange, funny, disturbing. Shelley Duvall.
This was a birthday or Christmas present for you. Because, like you said, if you can find it. I think it maybe is on YouTube, actually.
I think it is. I know at least clips are. I don't know if the full movie is on YouTube, but for sure, grew up watching this movie. It is strange. It's basically about Little Bo Peep trying to find her sheep while Gordon Goose is trying to find Mother Goose. And they just work their way through kind of all these nursery rhyme characters, but through the lens of, like, rock music.
Through the lens of, like, 80s new wave and post-punk rock.
Yeah.
Combined with set design that looks like it's from the Pee-wee's Playhouse set. It's awesome. Yeah. And unnerving and, like, weird. Uncanny Valley in that weird 80s way. Where everyone, like, had done too much coke and convinced themselves this wasn't going to creep kids out.
Yeah.
But great. It was fun.
Yeah.
And thank you. Yeah, of course, Munson. Happy to help. I'm glad that was a good one. And Pathos, yeah, let's try, well, let's move on to Jason X.
Okay.
So Jason X it's interesting because I think before both of these started, it's interesting if you think about this franchise, like, there's 8 movies that are all Friday the 13th part number, going from 1980 to 1989. Then we've got one Friday movie, one Jason movie in the 90s, just one, and it really does feel very 90s. From the soundtrack to the, like, in-your-face quality of it to the self-reflexivity of it as a kind of a postmodern, tongue-in-cheek horror movie. Jason X, on the other hand, produced in 2001, very much feels like it was made 2 years after The Matrix and very much feels like an aughts-level movie. From the who gives a shit if this CG doesn't look that good attitude, to the blue metal lighting, to the aggressive, like, industrial rock on the soundtrack. But I gotta say, I think it's a real standout from this era. I think that whereas a lot of the things that came out around this time, where like the post-Matrix, like, let's put a blue filter on it and rock music, and people didn't get. I've complained about that before. People didn't understand why the Matrix worked. I think Jason X, because it does that, but it also says, let's do another Friday movie, felt like Jason was back. So, again, I just ranted. Sorry, it's your first time watching Jason X. This is the last movie that Jason's the main in.
Yeah.
What did you think? And what were you expecting and what did you get? I'm curious about that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I had one more movie that I was going to suggest to go with While You Were Sleeping.
Was it Serendipity?
It's Serendipity.
Was it really?
Yeah. What the fuck? Yeah, I was going to say if you want to go, like, really down that rabbit hole of just, like, ridiculously cheesy rom-coms that, you know, you might have some pre-washed ready to eat spring mix, grandpa's spring mix ready to go, just have fun with it, let loose, be silly, and maybe make a milkshake while you watch it. Serendipity.
Oh, yeah.
Jason X.
Thank you, Pathos.
Yeah, that probably means we
spend a lot of time together.
Spend a lot of time together in quarantine for 15 months.
What you gonna do about that?
Okay, Jason X. I feel like you really got in there with a lot of my thoughts.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Cut you off at the pass.
No, totally.
Let's just say, like, first of all, based on this cover, did you see it coming that the regeneration machine was going to turn him into this Uber Jason as he's credited?
No.
Did you, first of all, I do want to call out, yes, the radness of the sleeping bag kill, and which is hard to watch, honestly, and the frozen face.
Those two were like a little intense for me.
That frozen head kill is incredible.
It was insane. It was so well done.
That's like the
I was
in theaters.
Very disturbed by that.
Yeah.
Man, this felt very of the era, especially thinking about it being like 2455 and like everyone's still dressing like they're in the early aughts. All the women have like, you know, our super low cut pants.
Yeah, I was thinking,
tops.
like a lot evolved. They mentioned that hockey was because of his mask. They make a joke about hockey being banned in the year 2024 or something, and I was like, well, I guess hockey was too violent, but misogyny just stuck around.
Yeah, it is evergreen, y'all.
Speaking of that, you know what? We both were like, this really reminds me of is like, and what? Who was saying that earlier? Yes, the android, the nipples falling off. That is very silly. Who mentioned the dunked on? Pathos getting dunked on by a sexy android. She reminded me... Sorry.
No, you go.
I was like, Mila Jovovich? Is this Resident Evil 3?
Yeah.
It very much felt like some Paul Anderson action there. Paul Anderson, Mila Jovovich, Resident Evil. Like, just why not? Because we just did The Matrix. People like women in leather shooting guns, right? That's why The Matrix made so much money.
Yeah. It was fun seeing that face off.
Yeah.
Between the two of them.
It was good. It was like satisfying.
Yeah.
It's also, if you want to get like weirdly like subtextual with it, it's also very owning her sexuality female character, but she's not a real human.
Yeah.
Who gets the revenge on behalf of all of the topless women Jason has slaughtered over the years.
Yeah.
She doesn't even have nipples.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a metaphor there about like how the person that actually defeated Jason in open combat couldn't have been a human. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's a meta commentary about like the manufactured ideal woman that the man makes is what's capable, which speaks to heroines in horror. Mm-hmm. I don't think the movie's that smart. But,
yeah. We can try to, assign meaning if we
if we really want to.
If we really want to go down that rabbit hole with Jason X. Super fun. I thought Jason X was really fun. Like,
it is fun. Dumb but fun is what Pathos said.
I think that's a pretty accurate summation. Had some sillier parts, some really good parts, like some really interesting kills, kind of disturbing kills. Some, hey, and Jason's the one who crashes through a window, brings that back.
Yes.
I was like, the window. See, people missed it. You have to have somebody jumping through a window at least once in these movies.
Defenestration, as we've learned tonight. Also, Jason destroys an entire space station in this one.
Yeah.
Making his kill count go up to a number we can't even, like... Before it was like 200 people, I think, confirmed killed between parts 1 through 9 of this franchise. And now it's like, okay, so Jason's responsible for like thousands of deaths.
Yeah, also that moment
across eons, like it was centuries.
Yeah,
Sorry.
That moment happened really fast, and it almost was like, oopsie daisy. They were just sort of like, oh, what are we gonna do now?
Yeah,
like,
they're all about like, what are we doing?
Yeah, no one was like, oh shit.
Yeah, no one's like, thousands of people just died. They're like, oh no, we can't dock.
Yeah. Oops.
Reminded me of the Invisible Man train derailing sequence a little bit. It might be far-fetched, but... okay, double features for these. I want to go ahead and say for Jason Goes to Hell, I think this would actually make a really fun double feature with The Hidden. The Hidden is Kyle MacLachlan, and it is about an alien parasite that slithers in through the mouth and turns people into killers and then passes from body to body. It's pretty much the exact same plot. Some might even say that Jason Goes to Hell completely ripped off the plot of The Hidden, which was made 2 years earlier, and did not have the same sort of audience, but was produced by the same production company. Some might think that. For Jason X, I'm going to say, keep it in space, baby. Do Jason X and then watch yourself Event Horizon. It's always a good time. Especially because Event Horizon is directed by the director who made the Resident Evil movies. So there you go. Little dovetail action.
That's fun. I feel like if you want to start with Jason X and then elevate it, I would watch The Thing.
Ooh, that's a fun idea too.
Yeah.
Little alien horror vibe.
Yeah, a little alien horror, kind of isolated. Mm-hmm. Everyone's trapped in this you know, this cold, dreary, lonely places.
With scary monsters. Yes, and Lisa Ryder, she was great. I haven't seen Andromeda, so I didn't really recognize her. But it's always interesting seeing those actors that you're like, they're really good. Why didn't I not see them? And you know, of course, there's a million reasons, but all right. Well, let me quickly plow through the other two I watched and we'll move on. One of them was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Finally watched this Arrow remaster. This was a late night watch for me. This obviously, I say obviously because I feel like this was the case for a lot of people. One of my favorites in high school. I will say that being a little bit older now, the drug usage in it didn't look as carnival-esque and fun to me. It looked more horrifying and like, that would make me so nauseous. And it was interesting seeing it with adult eyes, but I will say that it's visually stunning. I honestly think it's one of Terry Gilliam's best movies, and it really does adapt that book in a crazy way. So Fear and Loathing remains undefeated in my book. And I say, double feature it with Where the Buffalo Roam if you want to see the previous attempt at adapting the book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Where the Buffalo Roam has Bill Murray in it, playing Hunter S. Thompson. And then 30 Minutes or Less, this is like a 82-minute movie that I threw on because I had insomnia. It's Jesse Eisenberg as a pizza delivery guy. It's very much a stupid comedy of the early teens. I say it's the perfect movie for putting on when your brain ain't working but you can't sleep. It's fun. It definitely suffers from a lot of that punching down bro comedy of the era. But, it's also got Danny McBride just being Danny McBride, and that's fun to watch. It's also got, what is his name? He was in Grandma's Boy, too. I can't believe I'm blanking on him right now. Oh, my goodness. Stand-up comedian. Someone's going to drop it in the chat by the time I find it. Nick Swardson. Oh, and Aziz Ansari's in it, too. It's fun. It's like a buddy comedy. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's very tightly paced. Little movie about basically Danny McBride and Nick Swardson want to make $100,000 to hire a hitman to kill someone to get more money, and they're bumbling idiot fools who put a bomb vest on Jesse Eisenberg, and Jesse Eisenberg conscripts Aziz Ansari to help him to rob a bank and to get revenge. This would be a fun one with, I feel like, DOA. DOA is an old, I think it might be Frank Sinatra. Ooh, I forget. DOA is a movie from the 50s that Crank, it was originally remade as Crank. DOA is about a guy who gets injected with a poison. He has 80 minutes to live, and it's told in real time as he finds the people who poisoned him. So I think those would go well together. All right, cool. Lexa was also great in Andromeda on computer, and I had a class-long discussion about Andromeda. I love that.
That is really fun.
It is a shame about Kevin Sorbo. Yeah, but we always all knew that Xena was the one who was going to be there forever. And 30 Minutes or Less is, yes.
Makes sense that it would be the same. I haven't seen it, but it already has like a Zombieland kind of energy.
Yeah, very much so. Like, fast-paced, fun, action, twist, comedy. With maybe an over-reliance on people saying crude things for comedic effect, which at the time was funny, and culture just outpaced it, outgrew it. But yes. Well, cool. Then that brings us to the end of that. Like we said, we're going to try and I think we're on good pace.
I think we are.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and move over to the second part of our show. Quick station ID. You are tuned into UltraLoop on Twitch. You are watching You Are in a Video Store, which is the Tuesday night stream, but we actually do streams on this channel every night of the week. We are a consortium of streamers who are all buds and all stream slightly different things. So this is your movie talk show night. There's a lot of gaming and a lot of Among Us. I think we've got Aliens for Humans tomorrow night with Among Us. Sports talk, whatever. Just subscribe to our channel here. And
Sports talk.
There's been Sports. Keelan and Alon have done like Super Bowl dialogues.
Right.
We try to be an eclectic vibe here.
I was imagining more like a, hey, everybody, this is Sports Talk.
Sports Talk here on UltraLoop. If you scroll, and shout out Great Job Nerds if you're still here. shout out to Great Job Nerds for designing a logo for us that we will roll out. We're actually still rolling with our placeholder logo, which he also made. But Great Job Nerds, hire him. He makes amazing graphic design. Is an incredible artist. I think that's our station ID.
Yeah, and shout out to Good Words tonight. We've been having some real nice vocabulary. So we just wrapped up our What Did You Watch? As always, this show is interactive. If you are in the chat, feel free to chime in at any time. Shall we move on to our next segment?
Let's do it. That's right. Do you want to play a quick game of Mind Meld just to see
just to see how much we need to get away from each other?
Yeah.
I say that lovingly. 2.
1, 2, 3, ghost.
Omelet.
1,
2.
1, 2, 3, broken eggs. Oh, I was gonna say egg white. Whatever. Okay, let's move on. Oh, you want to get there?
Yeah.
Between egg white and what did I say?
Broken yolk.
Broken eggs.
Broken eggs?
Yeah. I was thinking like breaking an egg makes an omelet and death shell because a ghost is too heady. Okay, egg white and broken eggs.
Egg white and
broken eggs.
Broken eggs.
1, 2, 3, eggshell. 1, 2, 3, oops.
Breakfast.
1, 2, 3, spilled milk. Aw. 1, 2, 3, bounty. The bear picker upper. I'm not even trying anymore.
Obviously we were just.
Sorry that we got you too excited, Pathos, and that you want an omelet. Hey, I used to copyright for restaurants, and I have, I think, burned through all egg puns that I'll ever need in my life.
And I wrote a character that was dressed as a fried egg, and I burned through all those egg puns too.
That's true. For an award-winning one-woman show, I might add.
Oh.
Yeah, for Best Character Performer at the Cold Town Awards of 2017, award-winning character-based show.
Wow.
Well, so much is our fault, Pathos, but you know what's definitely my fault is my bank account having less money in it. And that's because Arrow Films, the wonderful people at Arrow Films, deigned to do an Easter sale on their website. Now, that's arrowfilms.co.uk or arrowfilms.com. It's a British company. And so normally I wouldn't pay attention to that sale, but since we got a region-free player and are able to buy British discs, I had to do it. They put most of their Blu-rays on sale for £8 each, which was about £10 a movie, and their box sets on sale for very cheap, way cheaper than I anticipated. So I got a little haul, part 1. Let me tell you all about it. Are you going to take a break?
I'm going to take a quick break while you do that.
All right, this won't take long. First of all, very happy to finally have a Blu-ray upgraded copy of Dario Argento's Tenebrae in the library. It has kind of been a goal for a second to compile Argento's main core work of horror on Blu-ray. Back when I was a younger film fan, I collected it all through those Anchor Bay releases on DVD, which I still fondly have. But Stephanie is on a path to getting deeper into the world of Italian horror. We're going to probably be exploring that a lot on the stream as a theme week coming up. And so I want to have it on hand. So went ahead and upgraded Tenebrae, first of all. Second of all, Bride of Reanimator. This is one that I think the US version's out of print on. So again, like, always fun. I love Bride of Reanimator. It's one of my first horror tapes I ever got. I'm a huge Reanimator fan. Fun movie. Avi. Our movie club pick, Pulse, which very ironically arrived in the mail today after we streamed it on Prime last night. But no matter. That's just the universe having a sense of humor. We will talk about this. I love this movie, and it's our movie club pick. And finally, from the single standalones, The Game. There is a Criterion release of this, but I gotta be real, I like this art more, and I think it's the exact same 2K restoration. Yep, the Criterion Collection supervised, so it's the exact same print used by both, and so I just went with the one with the cover art that I know and love. One of my favorite movies of all time. The Game would actually be a really good double feature with The Prestige, because both are made from directors known for much bigger works. Both kind of are like minor works within that director's body. But both are about kind of being mad by the puzzle pieces of reality, being made mad by the puzzle pieces of reality, and they're also both kind of, the game very explicitly is about making a movie. It's also an adaptation of Christmas Carol, and if you want to see that broken down, you can go to youtube.com/babylion, and you can watch our archival episode where the game was our movie club pick, and Stephanie broke down how it's an adaptation of Christmas Carol pretty brilliantly, drawing a lot of wonderful analogs. One of my favorite moments on this stream period.
Thank you.
I like his jigsaw forehead too. 10 pounds a piece, shipping costs must have been massive. God damn it, Pathos. The unit of currency, Pathos. Speaking of which, Doge. Okay, few box sets. This one I'm scared to dive into, but these movies are kind of hard, or used to be hard to find, so when I saw that there was a Arrow had done a box set, I was like, okay, I've seen one of these. We don't need to. This is the films of Jörg Buttgereit. I have no talent for German. Jörg Buttgereit, who is a German provocateur who has made like a lot of very shocking films, specifically around death, decay, corpses, and sex. I've heard whisperings of these movies being so fucked up ever since I was in high school and my friends were first showing me trauma movies. I've not seen either of the two big ones. The two big ones are Necromantic 1 and 2. Those are the two that I'm like hesitant to watch, but I have enough film fans who have seen them and come out fine on the other side that I think I'll be okay. This box set also comes with a movie called Schramm, which is about a serial killer, and I've never heard of it, so I'm excited to see that one. And then Der Todesking is the fourth movie in this box set. That is the one that I have seen by this director. Der Todesking is an art film, a very art house film that has no real plot. It is simply 7 separate deaths depicted over 7 days with interludes of real decomposition. I think that, as gross as it is to watch, was actually like a confrontational piece of high art about ennui and suicidal ideations and death that I think is a huge trigger warning on it if you suffer with mental health issues, and that might put you in a bad headspace, but as a piece of confrontational art, I think it's fantastic. So I'm excited to see the like trashier ones that he's made, you know, because that felt like his feels like Der Todesking is the one everyone considers to be the high art. Yeah, Munson, should I be warned?
Yeah, I was curious, like...
Yeah, I want to know what you think, Munson. I'm not sure when I'm going to be in the right headspace to put these on. Not in the near future.
No, that's also probably going to be a stay on the shelf situation for me.
Yeah.
For me personally. Which is fine.
Munson says, well, the thing about the Necromantics is both of them are very sought after VHS tapes. And that's where I first kind of encountered it, is that world of video nasties and fucked up VHS tapes of horror movies. I thought maybe I still had some. Anyway. And then they were put out on DVD, and then those DVDs went out of print. And so I guess I just saw that they were here, and I was like, it was, I think, $20 for this set on sale from $50. And so I was like, okay, we'll get it, we'll watch it. More digestible than the cannibal movies. I also love movies that test my pathos. I felt that way about Pulse, kind of. But I agree, like, it's not something, we talked about this last week, like shock movies and the difference between things that shock soullessly and the things that shock thoughtfully. Speaking of, since we've talked about you as an improviser so much tonight and a theatrical performer, one of the first things I remember I'm going to be corny for a second, but one of the first things I remember really crushing on you about was your description of shock humor in comedic scenes.
Yeah.
And you said to me that it was your motto that if you're going to be this shocking or offensive, you need to be this smart and this funny. And that if you fall below the bar there, don't do it. And I feel like that translates to me as be thoughtful. Mm-hmm. What are you saying? What is the point of it?
Yeah.
And pathos, I find that to be the same as well, but when they do, and that's my defense of like Salo last week, which often gets turned into a joke, but like I earnestly believe it is a perfect example of art disturbing the comfortable to make a point. And I think there's a place for that. On that note, let's get into South Korean revenge horror, which was a big hit with, of course, the big standout Old Boy. This is the final piece of the order. This is, I think, a UK-only box set. It is Park Chan-wook's Vengeance trilogy. I have not seen one of these. I've seen Old Boy, as we all did, and Lady Vengeance, which I love Lady Vengeance. I think it is, I prefer it to Old Boy if we're comparing. And then Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance was the first in this trilogy, and I have not seen that one, so I'm very excited to pop that in. All right, let's check in on the chat. Disturbing and low budget, Necro 2's higher budget, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like a lot of times that happens with horror. Tetsuo 1 and 2, which was our movie club pick a few weeks ago. I'm not familiar with Aftermath Genesis. I would love, if you have a link, I will check it out. And Brandon has a hard barrier of knowing this is a movie and this is real. I'm that way too. I'm very, very desensitized to fictional violence. So for me, it is about the idea. It's less about what's being depicted and more about what ideas are being explored. Der Todesking did not gross me out. First of all, everything in the body stuff in Der Todesking is a real body that he got from a medical facility. So it is real, and it does cross that barrier for me. But Der Todesking, for example, does not shock me because it has violence that I know is staged. It shocks me because it explores such a deep pit of suicidal depression that I do not feel comfortable living in. The movie has you live there for 70 minutes. And so, another great example, as a kid, I was never really afraid of monsters in movies, but villains scared me. If a villain did something to hurt someone just to be cruel, that would make me cry as a little kid. A monster popping out, I would think, that's fun, that looks fun. So, same. It's human malice that's always done it for me. Yeah. Well, cool. That's the end of New Arrivals, y'all. Let's go ahead and move on to Movie Club. We're making pretty quick time in our show tonight. Cool. Let's go ahead and move. Collab. Movie Club sandwich.
Sorry, I was looking at my phone, y'all. I'm trying to coordinate a surprise.
Really?
Yeah.
Here's my surprise. Look at that. Let's move it away from your face because it's. I don't want you to be covered up by it.
Oh. Has Pathos mentioned that he's a Dungeon Master before?
That's incredible. I want to know more about that. Do you ever... Pathos, do you stream live games ever? I know I've had a few friends... Great Job Nerds, I don't know if they're still here, but I know did that for a while on a mutual friends channel. Munson, I'm getting asterisks, and I don't know why, if you're being censored on my end or not. I don't know how to mess with these content filters.
No, I don't either.
But I love that. I mean, if you can tell the difference between creepy, gross, or gross out and existential malice, I feel like you can write a very effective bad guy. I think the best bad guys, if we really want to go down that rabbit hole for a sec, I think the best villains have a rational explanation for doing something unthinkable. And what I mean by that is, you look at them and you think pure evil, oh my god, I'm terrified of this, I want nothing to do with it. But they can speak about the thing they're doing in a way that makes you feel that you're not convinced, but you see their point of view. That's scary because, like you said, movies that challenge you, movies that confront you, I think the reason that's scary is because it's not just a disembodied feeling of villainy or cruelty. It is the movie holding up a mirror and saying, there's a little bit of this in you. I bet I can convince you of 5% of it, but that's going to bother you later when you think about it. Anyway.
The Thanos dichotomy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, a really good, example is the ending of Seven. When he gives that speech, John Doe is an evil thing in that movie. But when he's, emotionally being everyone's hurting each other in the world, we've lost all our values. You can see Morgan Freeman being
good point.
He has a point, but he's evil.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I will. Okay. Holy shit.
Whoa.
That is a poster.
Okay.
Okay, word. Thank you.
I'm gonna look back this way.
All right, y'all. So, Pulse.
Yes, let us know as we move into Movie Club. Let us know if you watched Pulse this week, what your thoughts are. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Pulse is just in case you didn't watch, and just to let you know, when we move into the movie club part, we will have some spoilers. That being said, if you ever saw the trailer for the American remake of Pulse, there are no possible spoilers. We watched the trailer for the U.S. remake afterwards, and it's like, beat for beat the entire movie. Including the big stuff. So, Pulse, in simple terms, is about... Well, okay, let's say what... sometimes I feel like there's two things. There's like, what is the story, and then what's it about? So the story is that some young college kids begin to notice that through internet connections, they are seeing ghosts who are leaking into our world from the realm of the dead. And they are causing humans to disappear, ultimately leading to, and here's the big spoiler, extinction level event for all of humanity. Which I did not see coming. This very much feels like a small movie about ghosts bothering a group of friends and then just escalates and escalates. Yeah. But what is it about? Well, there's the question. I would say let's start with it's about depression. It's about isolation. It's a warning movie about technology isolating us while giving us the illusion of being closer. I think it's really interesting, I want to say, that we're talking about this on a stream where I feel very close to y'all out there, but not as close as if we were really together. Mm-hmm. And we, I think, have gotten to a point where we can now exist in a way where we're like, internet closeness feels real, but it's also addictive because it's not giving us certain things like oxytocin. Yeah. So anyway, I feel like this movie had a lot to say there, obviously, but first and foremost, it's horrifying and terrifying.
Yes. I mean, definitely... has a lot of existential themes. It's very much about isolation and the singularity and like being constantly surrounded while also completely alone in some ways. Mm-hmm. Really and truly like such a good scary movie. Yeah. Like, as far as a movie that actually not only scares the shit out of you, like, it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, I know it did.
Like, certain parts, like, really scared me. But on top of that, thematically, it makes your heart pound, your throat get a little tight, you know? You're like, oh, I don't really want to think about this right now. And then on top of that, it's, like, an interesting approach to a horror film in the way that it unfolds and develops and feels very human while being about ghosts. Yeah, really good.
It is. It's and I'm not going to use the M word here because I'm trying to restrict use of the word masterpiece. I'll say it's nearly a masterpiece. I think there are just like it's not a perfect 10, but damn is it close. I mean, yeah, first of all, there's a few levels of why this is scary. And yes, Pathos, bring it on. We'd love that. I think there is the physical level of fear, as in my body is being threatened, as in my space is being compromised. And then there is the fear that leads to, depression and isolation. This movie is about both, and it masterfully creates both because not only is it using its film technique to just be scary. I've never watched a movie with you with a higher percentage of peeking through the fingers. Girl. I think it was about 60% of this movie. You watched like this. I was like, are you watching? You're like, yes, I am.
Okay, yeah. I think this movie...
Great job, nerds!
Hi again!
Hey, I'm sorry you're in trouble with the chat. Hello.
Let us know what you thought about Pulse if you watched it.
Hello.
I thought this movie really played with speed, with motion and sound in a way that was like really unnerving. There was a lot of like hard cuts on music, a lot of like silent moments with just some weird ambient noise, a lot of like really loud moments, and similarly there were I think you mentioned like kind of moving into the early aughts, there was that sort of like thing with horror.
Oh, like cut,
or like a thing like moving really fast. And then this movie, like particularly that first moment with the ghost sort of almost like dancing, like that was I just got chills. So scary to me. That movie was so scary to me.
And it's also the way the ghosts are represented as glitching technology.
Yeah.
And glitching analog technology. The ghost at the end, who's finally the one who confronts our main character, is permanently out of focus, like a camera would see them.
Yeah.
And to your point, she's at a slower speed than the world around her. And you can feel it. And there's that slight sense of unreality.
Yeah, and just how everything sort of like, as it's like taking its time, it's just like you're sitting with it. You're just having to sit with it, like with like you were saying, like the face moving in front of the screen.
Because our main characters are transfixed, and I think that is an interesting distinction between the American style of cut. I think that's like a cowardly way to do horror, because you assume that you don't have the power to scare your audience other than big loud noise all of a sudden. Whereas there's a confidence with this horror, the sitting with it, and the fact that the characters, when confronted by ghosts, are not like, the horror is not that the ghost is going to come strangle them and cause like, I'm coming to get you. The horror is that upon seeing this ghost, they have a realization that we're already in hell, that death is as lonely as life is, that nothing means anything because we're all damned to be alone for eternity, and they shrink into themselves and become inhuman because of it. And so because of that, we get to sit with characters as they experience like a holy terror, like the sort of terror that you might experience upon seeing like an angel, like truly like, this is not meant to be, my brain can't process it. Or like if you really saw an alien that looked alien to you, not like a Star Trek alien, but like I think Arrival did that really well. Aliens that don't look like something we should be seeing. There's that holy terror to it. But because of that, it allows the movie a very good reason to slowly pace itself. And we compared it to John Carpenter right off the bat. It very much felt like a Michael Myers vibes, like Halloween. You got these wide takes, horizontal eye level, no tilting up or down. This is how humans see. And the camera's going to move, and we're not going to cut. We're going to show you the whole space.
And then maybe we'll shift a little, and then shift back.
Is that Michael standing over there in the grass? I don't know. No, it wasn't. Maybe it was. Yeah. That's the vibe this gave, except it played with shadows and light so effectively that every unlooked at corner of the frame felt ominous and threatening. Yeah,
and I think that to your point about like, that sort of fast in your face, like very American sensibility in the early aughts, this was that constant anxiety that you feel when you are anticipating a jump scare, but a jump scare never really comes in this movie. Everything is just like slow, and there were a lot of times where you think, oh, something scary is going to happen. You're going to see, like, shit's about to go down. You're going to see something really scary. And then it's just like, nope, next scene. And then you're like, oh, God damn it. I thought I was going to, like, have that release of, like, holding your breath. But no, this whole movie is, like, holding your breath for one reason or another.
It reminds me, not to be a total millennial about it, but it almost reminds me of, like, Dementors. Like, it's this force that isn't going to, like, reach out and grab you. It's just going to remove all the hope you have and leave you, like, shelled out.
And there's really no escaping it.
And there's no escape, yeah. And Great Job Nerds, same. I saw it in college when it came out, too. And Pathos, don't worry, I'm going to scroll back and we're going to address your pitch here for Movie Club, for Avalon. I think we refer to it as John Carpenter with some stank on it.
Yeah.
Because whereas in like early John Carpenter, like The Fog and Halloween, you're setting that camera down, eye level, daylit horror, which is, I love daylit horror because bad things don't wait for dark and stormy nights to happen in the real world. and I think that's why this movie also makes you so uneasy, is because maybe something bad is going to happen on a great sunny day. Anyway, the reason say John Carpenter with a little stank on it is because it's that John Carpenter, but it's also like Kurosawa, the director here, is doing such an expert job of like maneuvering through spaces, creating new pockets of space, and then letting you see the full thing again.
So many long takes, just really well choreographed with the space, the actors, the camera.
I firmly believe that horror lives in a wide shot. I've always thought that. I hope I get the chance to make a horror movie someday and embrace that. But yes, you could compare it to something else from 2000, like this era, maybe a little later, I guess. This would have been 3 years later in 2004, but Saw. Saw, and especially Saw 2 and that franchise, is very much about the like... I remember thinking this when I worked at a video store after watching some Japanese horror like Pulse and comparing it to Saw, because Pulse was released in the US in 2005, which would have been around the same time. So actually, it's weird. I'm about to repeat something I probably said almost 15 years ago. But the Saw movies, because they're such like cut, crazy cut. I remember seeing Saw 2 and thinking, if you had applied the filmic techniques of Pulse to this, I would have been horrified. If you would have set that camera down and given me a 5-minute shot of someone trying to figure out how to get out of this machine, I would have been with them for every inch of that fear. But as it stands, you thought I was going to have a low attention span, and you cut it together in such a way that now it looks like a music video, and I'm not afraid. So, you know, that's also American versus Japanese aesthetic, and obviously there's a lot of tradition in Japanese horror with taking your time. I think the most famous one there is Audition. Like, things don't even get scary in that movie for 35 minutes.
Yeah. That would be an interesting double feature with TLDR.
Yeah, for sure. TLDR.
2LDK.
Okay. Great job, nerds. And yes, we're going to come back to Avalon. Great job, nerds says one thing I like about Kurosawa, and this is Kiyoshi Kurosawa, this director, not Akira Kurosawa, just because we are celebrating Japanese film this month. Yes, those shots in Audition are agonizing. Yes, that living with the moment. Great job, nerds. One thing I like about him is he sets the stage. Oh, you mean Akira Kurosawa? Okay, cool. Just a coinky-dink. Okay, well, one thing I like about Akira Kurosawa sets the stage by showing you a setting through the window of another part of the set, so you don't see the world. You really start to see the world for yourself. I love that. Great job, nerds. I know you're a huge Akira Kurosawa fan. Also, Pathos, I know that we have been... Oh, you have a great night, Munson. Thank you for coming through.
Oh, bye,
and if we don't
Munson.
see you next week, we'll post on our Insta, and we'll see you the week after that.
Yeah.
So I have been pushing, since we've been doing Japanese Film April, it feels to me like we have covered a lot of our eras. We started with Tetsuo and did the punk era. We went back and did the 70s with Lady Snowblood. We moved forward to the aughts horror, technophobia. This is part of the same genre cycle as The Ring. I have been wanting to go back to formalism in Japan, and that lives with Akira Kurosawa. So maybe it's a night that we do maybe we try to do 2 movie club picks here and do do 2 polar opposites. Maybe we try and do Avalon as like a community pick, or we can just like, we will do our, like, I don't know, we'll figure something out. But I also am like feeling Akira Kurosawa because I feel like we've explored a lot but that. But Kiyoshi Kurosawa does the same thing, but he lets you walk around the room at his own leisure. So whereas Akira Kurosawa, great point, will like be like, here's a perspective, live with it for a second. I feel like Kiyoshi is like, and now look here. And this movie very much felt like a sense of unease. And also, as to your point about the jump scare that never comes, there's literally a jump scare where a woman commits suicide by jumping off of a large tower, and it doesn't feel like satisfying. It doesn't feel like a satisfying conclusion or breaking of tension. It simply feels like
your heart rate goes from here to here.
it's the fear of the other shoe dropping.
Yeah.
And it's like, when the other shoe drops, it creates more anxiety. It doesn't cut the anxiety.
Well, that moment is played so casually. you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh shit, that just happened.
Yeah.
Like, it puts you very much in the shoes of the viewer of that moment. Being like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Just sort of like shock.
And
disbelief.
Shock across the board at things happening. Like, I think earlier in the night someone was saying the background of every frame. Oh no, I was tweeting with someone about this. Shout out Alex Shipley.
Oh.
We're tweeting about it. Or Shipley Donuts is their username, sorry. Alex, anyway. Tweeting about the living frames of this movie and how there's always something going on.
Yeah, the moment where they're in the subway and there is the figure on the stairs in the background.
Mm-hmm. Oh no. Hope we didn't lose pathos. Well, we'll see. There you are. I really want to watch Cure now.
Mm-hmm.
Cure is a crime thriller that's been called Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Seven or Zodiac. Bong Joon-ho recommends it as one of the best movies he's ever seen. Same director as Pulse. Unfortunately, it's not available for streaming. I ordered it from the UK. I'm gonna try and watch it and report back, and maybe there's a way to find it. Maybe Tubi just added it. I don't know. Hopefully, but from anyone out there, yes, great job, nerds. For anyone out there, do we have any other thoughts on this movie?
I mean, just to put a bow on it, for me at least, my opinion, Pulse, 100% recommend. It is a ghost movie. It is a scary movie. It's definitely, it feels weird calling it like a scary movie, almost.
It's a dread movie.
Yeah, it is like a very nihilist, existential dread, lonely, scary ghost tale. Definitely recommend 100%.
I can see that quote on the poster already. A
That
scary, dread, existential ghost tale. 100% recommend.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much sums it up. It's also, I think, scarier as an adult to me because so much of it is about losing yourself to despair.
Mm-hmm.
And to human beings losing themselves. I mean, this is 2001. The main character in it. By the way, I loved how there were two main characters having separate plots that meet up at in the third act.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a fun device.
Yeah.
But our male main character, our guy with the awesome hair who hangs out at the arcade, he's like in denial about death the whole time. And even after he gets the Dementor stare, is still like trying to hold on and be there, but maybe isn't really there. I mean, isn't.
Mm-hmm. It felt in a lot of ways a movie about like moving through your early adulthood and sort of starting to, like in college, having those philosophical late night conversations, moving through that reality and having it actually sink in as you move into young adulthood or adulthood, and sort of like loss of innocence compounded with loss of religion or loss of meaning.
And entering a faceless work environment. It kind of harkens back to like what we were saying about El Posto.
El Posto, yeah.
Like it is, I think that's a really good point because all the characters are that age, and it is like the world is shrinking around them, like or people are disappearing, which kind of is like what happens as you go through those, and you are like, wait, I used to have more friends.
Yeah.
I used to hang out. Why are I only hang out with 3 people instead of 10 people?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is like that second wave of loss of innocence, loss of childhood.
Mm-hmm.
But also, 2001, our main character guy doesn't even know what the internet is on the internet for fun because everyone else likes it. And it is very much like, from our point of view here, it's interesting to look back and say it's alarmist in some ways, but also very prescient about something we've been warning ourselves of for 2 decades now, which is this feels like a real connection, but it's not.
Yeah.
And I think that is how we all become ghosts. And if you want to get real like 2021 with it, maybe our ghosts are our avatars and usernames. They're not really us. they're an ephemeral version of us that only exists within a digital framework that other people can watch, but they can't connect with it because it's not really us. If I have a Twitter account that's my alt for, I don't have any alts. So let's pretend I do. I have an alt and it's Fuzzy Rocket Bear Terror Vision Fan 392. That's not me, but maybe you connect with me through Twitter on that. That's not me. That's a ghost of me. And I do think this movie predicted that in kind of an uncanny way.
I would argue, maybe that it would go the other way, that especially now your actual self is the ghost. Because, well...
because you're living online.
You're living online, yeah. And
so
you are a ghost of your form. Like, who is this shell of a person here that nobody knows, that is actually alone? This is what you put out to the world, your smiling face, your best pictures, your, accomplishments. And then at the end of the day, when it's just you and your thoughts, and you don't have the serotonin from the likes or whatever, or buying things online or getting on social media or whatever the thing is, then you're just sitting alone with your thoughts with no one around thinking about death.
And it is, every ghost we see through a screen in this movie is someone sitting by a computer alone. I think you're right. We become the ghosts because we put ourselves out there. You're right. I retract my statement. I think that gotta love academic notes on a paper. I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's a really good way of looking at it. And the simulation that is supposed to... in the movie, there's a simulation of the world that is dots rolling around a screen, and they say that the rule of it is that if two dots get too close, they disappear, but if they get too far away, they're drawn together. That's the algorithm. It very much also feels like... obviously, it's the world we live in now. I think that's maybe also why it was unnerving. This does feel like kind of a hell you can't escape.
Yeah. And I think, the fact that there are a few sort of subpar CGI moments, and the technology obviously is very outdated. The fact that this movie still 100% feels relevant and holds up says a lot.
Yeah. Well, as usual, I have grown to like this movie even more than I thought I did upon talking about it a little more, which is why we're here. We're at the end of our show here. Like we said, we normally go for 3 hours. We've even gone for 4 before. But tonight, we're just beat, dudes. From outside life stuff, we have a lot going on right now. I'm traveling to Austin next week. Probably won't get to see many people because I'm there to film something. But we may or may not be here next week. Keep an eye on our Instagram for word on that. Other than that, we promised ourselves a short stream tonight so that we can have a relaxing mental health night for ourselves because we need it. Thank you for being here with us. Let's move into what our movie club pick's going to be next week.
First of all, can we scroll back up to the Avalon discussion?
That's what I...
Oh, yeah. Well, then let's get into it. Yes.
Okay, so... Avalon is a movie about a dystopian future where a lot of people play an illegal underground MMORPG. Sounds like it'd be a good double feature with Ready Player One. Just to make ends meet, when you do own the game, you can cash rewards. The game itself is a cornucopia of unexplored and potentially dangerous secrets. Pace is slow, dialogue is sparse, color scheme is small. All that's deliberate. Every advance in the story is small but very deliberate, all building up to a mind-blowing climax. The climax is why I love it. Everything about it amazed me the first time. Mamoru Oshii is incredible at creating slow but brain-blasting stories. I mean, this very much sounds in line with the things we were praising about Pulse, the slow pace. This has sold me.
Yeah, what a pitch.
So this movie, and where can we watch this movie? And also the director, you'd mentioned that, okay, this is from 2001, Mamoru Oshii, which I don't recognize that name, so I'm going to quickly look and see. Oh, okay. I don't recognize the name, but I should. Director of Ghost in the Shell. Okay, so got it. So an anime director doing a live-action movie exploring the same slow-paced themes. And Ghost in the Shell's... I rented Ghost in the Shell when I was young because it's like looks like a sci-fi action movie with animated boobies in it.
Yeah.
And then it's so slow paced and thoughtful. And I was like,
you're like, oh,
this feels like school. I actually loved school as a kid. I don't know why I said it that way. It's on Paramount Plus. Okay, maybe we can do a little free trial action there. Okay, so we're potentially skipping next week, right? So that makes next week the 27th, which makes it our last week. Since we might be taking a week off, I don't think it's a problem for us to have 2 movie club picks.
Oh, I don't either.
You said that in a way. Because we might not be here next week, why don't we do Avalon? And how long is Avalon? Before I say that we're going to do 2. Unless they're both 5 hours. Come on. 147. Let's do it. I recognize this cover art. OMG. I remember this cover art from the video store I worked at. I remember this DVD being on the shelf. We had 1 copy. It never rented. I never knew what it was. There you go. Finally time to watch this sucker. All right. Cool. I love finding a good underrated thing. Thank you for that, Pathos. Okay. Cool. You comfortable doing Avalon?
Yeah.
That said, I have a vested interest in doing we're doing Japanese cinema this month. I do not think it's possible to omit a few names from that conversation. One of whom is a director I don't know nearly enough about. That's Yashiro Ozu. Ozu's a very slow-paced director who was part of... he's an older generation than Akira Kurosawa. He started the silent era, and his movies are very much about normal people living lives. They are the Japanese sense of... There's a Japanese word I do not know at the moment, of just being in this moment. His movies with titles like Early Spring or Tokyo Story are stories of everyday people existing in everyday moments. Maybe a more formalist, quiet approach similar to Italian Neorealism. Whereas Akira Kurosawa is like the Spielberg of Japan, is the master of the big epic, maybe even like the Robert Wise of Japan. But formalist, and I use the word formalist to mean every film market across the world has to have a formalist phase, and a formalist phase simply meaning the phase in which the rules of how we tell a movie by standards are set. So the formalist period in Hollywood, you could think of being like the 30s. The 30s defined what Hollywood movies would look like, basically until now. Once you have the form, then you can start deviating it, and that's where you get things like New Wave. Let's remix the form. So I think Kurosawa is an essential piece to understanding Japanese film history, and I am going to advocate that we do a Kurosawa movie this week.
Let's do it.
So, great job, nerds. I know you're a huge Kurosawa fan. Yojimbo and Sanjuro, great double feature. I've never seen Yojimbo. I would love to watch Yojimbo. We've also tossed around Throne of Blood. We've also tossed around Seven Samurai. If anyone's got 4 hours and wants to really sink into one of the greatest movies ever made, I haven't seen it since high school. I would love to rewatch that. Big body of work here. Tempted to go in a samurai direction because samurai storytelling is one thing we have not explored, and the samurai code and the Bushido code, as well as the historical eras that they represent, I feel like we have to talk about them to get a grip on this amazing country's amazing film market.
And we got a hooray from Great Job Nerds. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, I might just start a poll here, but I'm watching stuff come in, so I'll start a poll. And we can decide the poll blocks out the chat. So just for a few minutes, let's throw around some titles. Yojimbo, Hidden Fortress, Seven Samurai, Rashomon. Rashomon, by the way, 1950, is what is often credited as introducing Japanese cinema to the world because it was such a crossover hit because of its essential conceit of telling the same story from different perspectives. Best foreign film winner of 1950, and showed the U.S. Japan in a new way. Throne of Blood, Rashomon, Ran, Yojimbo, Sanjuro, Seven Samurai, Hidden Fortress.
We got Stray Dog.
Stray Dog, crime drama, that's fun. That's interesting. I've never seen Stray Dog. I love that suggestion. I am selfishly wanting to do samurai because it's such a huge genre for Japan, and we have not seen a samurai movie yet this month. I mean, I guess we kind of count Lady Snowblood, but it's a different era. It's not the feudal period. It's the Meiji period. We're learning history through film.
Look at that.
Look at that. Okay, cool.
Okay, so there was a little crossover here with Hidden Fortress. I'm not familiar.
Hidden Fortress is Star Wars is a loose remake of the Hidden Fortress. Star Wars is about a band of rebels taking on an Imperial stronghold with the help of two dorky guys who are kind of like the Greek chorus who would become R2 and C-3PO.
That sounds fun. I mean, I know it's not samurai, but...
Oh, I think it is a samurai movie.
Oh,
I think it at least takes place in the feudal period. Yeah, I think. It's a big one. Like, my Kurosawa viewing is limited to a few of the big ones only, not including Hidden Fortress. Which, yeah. Oh, and Toshiro Mifune. We gotta have a Toshiro Mifune in the lead. Toshiro Mifune, what a legend. And really part of, like... Toshiro Mifune and Kurosawa are like Fellini and Marcello Mastroianni, like, just inseparable. Or even, like, Scorsese and Leo. Just, like, inseparable. This is a partnership. I'm down for Hidden Fortress, TBH.
I am as well.
16 movies together. Amazing.
Wow.
Okay, Great Job Nerd says I'm leaning most towards Hidden Fortress, but if we want super samurai action, Rashomon. I think we're all feeling Hidden Fortress.
Yeah. I mean, Rashomon's great, but I feel like that's a little...
I've never seen that.
That's true. I was going to say, I feel like that's something that's, like, required reading for, film school. Or film history.
I think a lot... that's the weird thing, is that they've made a lot of movies. So, oftentimes I'm like, how have I still not seen that? It's like, well, because you went down a hole watching eight Japanese $10,000 budget crime movies instead of watching these big ones. Let's do Hidden. I'm sold. Hidden Fortress and Avalon, baby.
Yeah, I love it. That was easy.
Okay, we're doing 2. Hidden Fortress. I think this is a really nice way to end the month too. Like a big kind of. It's a longer epic Kurosawa. Like you said, hitting all the different vibes, and then our slow-paced live action from an anime director, which is a totally different vibe. Okay. And no one accidentally watch No one accidentally watched the Avalon from 1981 by Barry Sonnenfeld. It is not the same.
You will be very confused during the movie club discussion.
Yeah, right. Okay, Steph. Now we have to do our staff picks, and then we're like right on time to end a little early tonight, as was our plan.
Yeah. Staff pick. I think that you tend to kind of skew more in line with where we are thematically. I am a random throw spaghetti at the wall. Be a wild card, baby. Wild card situation.
Be yourself. Be yourself.
Let's see. Oh, I know. I'm sure most of you have seen this movie, but I'm going to say Band of Power.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. Band of Outsiders is the American release title.
Band of Outsiders 64? 2, 3, 4?
I don't know. I think it sounds exactly right. I would say. I thought it was 61, but you're probably right. 64. Also, fun little thing, the reason that Band of Outsiders and Un Band Apart is also the name of Quentin Tarantino's production company. A Band Apart is what his is called. It's a little wordplay joke. But it's based on the Godard movie.
That's fun. That was one of my favorite ones in college. It's always been, like, a fun one to revisit. I haven't revisited it in a long time, but I adored it when I was studying film and I was young. And
I love that. And I'm going to go ahead and, I mean, I love it too, by the way. It's so fun. It's the movie where most known for a scene in which they really did this too. The camera crew and the actors attempt to visit every part of the Louvre in the shortest amount of time possible, running through the Louvre. Band of Outsiders is very much about that early. We were talking about formalism versus the new wave. This is one of the movies creating the new wave. God, what a good movie!
Yeah, it's great.
Very much. Sorry.
It's really fun. I love the dance sequence in that movie as well.
The cafe dance.
The cafe dance. It's been like a weird group costume fantasy of mine, like for Halloween. If we ever have parties again, to go, as a group, like a three-part,
and then start a dance
and
somewhere.
then do the dance.
I love that. Coca-Cola, pinball machines, asynchronatic editing, young kids being existential and postmodern about the art that's come before them. This is all you need for a Godard movie. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to split the diff. I'm going to meet you on the new wave, and I'm going to stay with Japan, and I'm going to recommend a movie by the filmmaker who is often referred to as the Japanese Godard. Seijun Suzuki. And
that's cute. I'm
going to go ahead and recommend a movie called Branded to Kill, which is the exact same sort of... it's, I think, from maybe the same year. I think 67. So same decade. Branded to Kill is the same sort of thing. It is basically... hey, there's the genre of gangster, but what if we break it all apart? And it's all the ingredients Godard loved, but being done in Japan. The plot is about a killer named Number 2, who is being hunted by Number 1, who wants to be, strike that, reverse it. The Number 1 killer being hunted by the Number 2 killer. It's assassins who are on a weird ranking scale. It way predates John Wick in the world building of a world of assassins. It's cut all funky. It has the same Godard vibes of play a song. Wait. It's rad. It's super fun. Yeah.
I love that. Let's
break film apart. Let's do. I love the new wave staff picks with the classical movie club pick. Well, y'all, what a fun. Oh, is that the plot Afro Samurai too? Love it. Let me go ahead and screen cap as I'm wont to do so I don't forget. Once again, you can always follow us on Instagram at You Are in a Video Store. We will post new arrivals. Stephanie's new feature, You Are in a Clothing Store, where she breaks down how to get the look of slept-on fashion from the films.
Yeah, and even if we don't do a stream next week, you can anticipate a You Are in a Video, or You Are in a Clothing Store drop on our Instagram at You Are in a Video Store.
Love it. Follow us there. Also, if you forget what these picks are, again, the staff picks are always just kind of what we recommend. We won't be discussing them next week. The movie club is what we'll be discussing. So watch Avalon, watch Hidden Fortress if you have the time to, and meet us here. If we are not going to be on next week, we will let you know on the gram. Again, we're traveling, and things have been a bit hectic, but we'll be back in full force one way or another 2 weeks from now. Afro Samurai sounds like Afro Samurai is something I watched okay. Very same plot. I watched a little bit of Afro Samurai when it was on TV, but I never followed it, That and Samurai Jack I think would be two to I would be interested in actually being invested in. Okay, well, I think we are ready for our break of the evening. We're going to hop off the stream. It is always such a pleasure. Really look forward to doing this every week.
I agree. Thanks for being here with us, despite the fact that it was a little bit of a shorter stream. We always love seeing y'all. Thank you to our regulars. Thank you to anyone who is here or was here, checking out the video store for the first time.
Oh, and also shout out one of my new arrivals from this company, Rucking Fountain, for this rad Romeo plus Juliet shirt that I'm rocking tonight.
I'm also wearing a new shirt from a company called Forgive Everyone Co. You can find them online at forgiveeveryone.com, I think, or forgiveeveryoneco.com. They support incarcerated artists and their families, as well as people in rehabilitation from formerly incarcerated
and
individuals.
Ruckingfoten is a capitalist company making a profit, but they make great stuff. Okay.
The duality of man.
Duality of man. Man, I wanted to say something before we hopped off. That's okay. It's going to come to me later, and I'll be frustrated. I won't be frustrated. I'll be like, should have said that. I thought maybe it'd be fun to... This is so dumb. I thought it'd be fun to try and do one more mind meld before we end the stream.
Okay.
Try not to be influenced by anything in the room. Clearing my head. Okay, and... 1.
2.
1, 2, 3, acorn.
Ball.
Acorn and beach ball? 1.
2.
1, 2, 3, beach.
Round.
Beach and round?
Beach and round.
1.
2.
1, 2, 3, booty. Sunset and booty.
1.
Sunset and booty. 2. 1, 2, 3, sex. Sex and tan?
1.
2. 1, 2,
2,
3,
3,
tanning
lotion?
booth? Oh boy, we're circling the drain now. Lotion
man.
and tanning booth? 1.
2.
1, 2, 3, bikini.
Coconut?
1.
2.
1, 2, 3, suntan
boobs.
lotion. 1. Boobs and suntan lotion. If you get me on this, I'll be like, hell yeah. 1. Don't overthink it.
2.
1, 2, 3, coconuts.
You said coconut.
I did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well,
That's
I'm sorry. We ruined it. Okay. All right. Sex and candy. That's a good one. 1. Let's start fresh. We got to do this before we get done with the stream. One more try. 1.
2.
1, 2, 3,
bicycle.
airplane.
1, 2.
1, 2, 3, transportation. Here it is. Okay, cool. Gotcha. That's a good mind meld. Hey, thanks for joining us, y'all. Follow us on Instagram. We'll be back, if not next week, the week after. I've been one of your 2 hosts, Adam Protextor.
And I've been your other host, Stephanie Thoreson.
As always, be kind, rewind. Make sure you have your outro queued up while you're doing your outro.
Be kind, rewind, watch more movies, Black Lives Matter, get home safe, have a great week.
Yeah. And fuck you, Derek Chauvin. Y'all have a good night.
See you next time.
You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. From Lubitsch to Mamoulian, Kubrick to Leone, Corbucci and Suzuki, these movies take you to New Orleans. We recommend it, never pretentious, it's never ending, just where our head is. It's one Kauai and a Slaughterhouse 5, those Hollywood nights or Hong Kong on fire. I could watch it all night, press stop and rewind, and watch it again. You're strapped in, ain't no stopping the ride. That's Ginger Rogers the time. Swing down Broadway and lights, Ishii, Miike, Tarkovsky, Almodovar, Von Sternberg, Dietrich, Garbo, Garfield, Heathcliff with Transformers over on the 80s TV show. You need a hand, we can reach it, move in silence like Murnau Melius Mishu, spending afternoons with Maya, then watch Freddy Got Fingered. It's all love for that silver screen, now baby, what that TV do? And we here every week too, so don't you touch that dial, bruh. We ain't skipping the previews. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. Store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. You are in a video. You are in a video. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Welcome to the rental shop. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Yeah, welcome to the rental shop. Rent that shit double. Yeah, 2 for 1, baby, on Tuesday.
Yeah, if we don't get around to that one, I'll pay the